Hey, this is Cedric from Vertex Marketing Agency, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can set up the TikTok pixel on your website using Google Tag Manager. That's actually a video that I've made about 9 to 10 months ago, but back in those days, there was actually not a template for the TikTok pixel, so I actually made my own. But now TikTok has actually released a template that you can just easily use inside Google Tag Manager to set up your event. So I wanted to recreate the video that I did 10 months ago and show you how to use the new TikTok template to set up all your events, because that's actually what I use these days. So that's exactly what we're going to cover in this video. Okay, so I am now inside my Google Tag Manager account. And if you don't have a Google Tag Manager account created yet, you just got to go to tagmanager.google.com and you can create your account. It's completely free. So once you create your account, you're going to see something like this. And then if you click this little code here, this is going to open up, and this is actually how you install Google Tag Manager website. So it's actually pretty simple, but you definitely want to make sure that this is done in order to continue with the rest of this video, because if Google Tag Manager is not installed on your website, unfortunately, it's not going to work, right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to templates, because like I said, TikTok released a template for us to use. So we're going to click on search gallery right here. And if we open this up, there's a little like search icon here. So we're gonna click on that and we're just gonna type TikTok. So we can see that there's a few different options. We want the one by TikTok. So we're gonna select that one and I'm gonna click add to workspace and then add. Perfect, so now it's in my workspace. So if I go to the tag section, we're gonna be able to select it. But while we're on the template tab, there's actually a variable template that I wanna make you add. And then you're just gonna type here, it's called event ID, and we're gonna use the one from State. So basically the way it works is whenever we send an event, let's say a lead event or a purchase event, we always want to send an event ID with our event. And for now, it's not super important because we're only going to be doing browser tracking. That's what I'm going to be showing you in this video. But if you subscribe to the channel, well, you're going to see that in maybe the next few weeks or maybe a month, I'll actually release a video on how to not just do browser tracking, but also server-side tracking. And that just means that you're sending the events from both browser and server. And if ever, I don't know, if TikTok doesn't receive the browser event because someone has an ad blocker installed, or maybe they're using the Safari engine for whatever reason, the server event should most likely send the event to TikTok. So it's actually really good to have both browser and server. But since TikTok is, I guess, a newer platform, not a lot of people are actually doing both browser and server. So if you only have the browser for now, it's totally fine. But again, in the future video, I'll show you how to do both of them. But it's important that for now, you have the event ID installed inside your tag so that in the future, when you watch my other video, like that part is already set up and it's good to go. So we have the tag template and we have the variable template. Now we just want to go to variables, and all we got to do is enable that variable. So I'm going to scroll down here. I'm going to click on new. I'm just going to click here and we actually see it right here. It's called unique event ID. So I can just select that. And if I hit save, it's actually going to use the default name, and that's totally fine. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. So now perfect. So I've added the variable. Now if I go to tag and I hit new and I click tag configuration, you're going to see if we scroll down here, we actually see the template. Now that's what we're going to be using to set up all our events. But first we got to install what they call the base code. So we want to click on custom HTML. And then if we go to Events Manager on TikTok, and if ever you're not familiar on how to get there, all you gotta do is click on Tools. So first of all, you gotta go to ads.tiktok.com, but then you should see something like this. And then at the top, it should say Tools. And then if you click on Events, it's gonna ask you what kind of event that you wanna track. So for us, it's a web event. So you're just gonna click on Web Event. And you know what, I'll actually just go through the process with you again. So I'm clicking on Events. Now, it's asking me what I want to track, but I want to track a web event. So I'm going to go ahead and click on manage right here. And now it's going to show me all my pixels. So I have a few pixels. So I'm going to select the testing pixel right here. And now it's going to bring me to the TikTok pixel overview. Now what I want to do is click on settings. And by the way, if you don't have a TikTok pixel created yet, it's as easy as just creating one. But if I click on settings and if I scroll down right here, you see it says TikTok pixel view base code. Well, that's what we want to do. So I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to click on copy pixel code. So I just click on that. So now it's copied to my keyboard. So now I can just go back here and then just paste it. And now here we go. We have the TikTok pixel and we can see that that's my ID right here. So everything looks good. Now what we want to do is we're going to click on advanced settings and then we're going to give it a priority of 100. So basically what this means is, well, by the way, the higher the priority, that just means that this tag is going to potentially fire before another tag. And we always want the base code to fire before any other like code. So we want the page view to load first, and then potentially the lead to load after, or the view content to load after. So if you don't understand that part, that's fine. Just all you gotta remember is put the number 100 here, and in all your other tags, we're actually gonna leave it blank because by default, it's actually 0. So if you just put 100 here, you're gonna be totally fine. Now, if I scroll down here, I actually want this to fire on all pages. That's really important. So I'm gonna set the trigger all page. And then here I can just say TikTok, and then let's say base code. All right, so that's how I'm gonna name this tag, and I can just hit save. So that's the only thing you're gonna have to do with like custom code, because for the rest of this tutorial, we're actually gonna be using the TikTok template, but it's really important that you do this part. And as you can see, like there was no coding involved. It was literally just like copy and pasting. So now I'm gonna hit new, and I'm gonna click tag configuration, and I'm gonna show you how this TikTok template works. So first of all, you gotta add your pixel ID. So if I go back to Events Manager, and we can actually see it in that code somewhere here, but I just prefer going here and we can actually see it. So that's my pixel ID. You wanna go and grab your own pixel ID because you don't wanna send events to my pixel. Now, if I go back to Google Tag Manager, you could just paste your pixel ID here. What I like to do is whenever we're using like a unique pixel ID, it's never gonna change. So I like to create a new variable, and then I'm gonna scroll down here, and I'm gonna select the option constant right here. And what this is the value is set to a string you provide. So we're gonna select that. We're gonna set the value, which is the TikTok pixel. And then what we can do now is we can just always like pull from this variable, and we don't always need to go back and like say, oh shoot, like what's my TikTok pixel ID? So that's why I like to use those kind of variables. So TikTok pixel ID, and I'm gonna save that. And now perfect, it's in my tag. And this is what's also important for you to understand. So when I'm opening this up, and I don't think you can see it, but there's a drop down, okay? And when I open up the drop down, it's actually showing me all the different events that I can potentially send to TikTok. So I'm gonna change it here. So you're gonna see now this field just updated to add to cart. So you can send an add to cart event, you can send like a place an order event, you could send a view content event. That's the one we're gonna start with. And then for this demo, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pretend that I'm setting this up for my agency. So I'm just gonna send like a view content event when someone visits my contact us page. And then I'm gonna send like a lead event whenever they submit the contact us form. So, but obviously you'd wanna tweak that setup for your company. So if you have an e-com store, you might wanna still send a view content event, but maybe an add to cart or a purchase event. And I'm gonna go through a few different trigger examples with you, just so that if you're not super comfortable with Google Tag Manager, you should be somewhat fine at setting up your I guess your tags and trigger for your website. But I'm gonna start with this event here. One more thing I wanna just mention regarding the events is that if you're familiar with Facebook and the name that they use for their events, TikTok is really similar, but they don't always match. For example, for Facebook, they call it like a lead event, but for TikTok, they actually don't call it a lead event. It would be like a submit form or complete registration event. And same thing for Facebook, they call it a purchase event. For TikTok, they actually don't call it a purchase event, they call it a place an order event. So if you read in the event name, and potentially if you just go to TikTok events library, or like where you can see like your documentation of all the events and what they mean, you can just go and see, okay, well, for Facebook, they call it purchase, but for TikTok, they call it place an order. But again, some names are really like they're equal. Like Facebook is add to cart, TikTok is also add to cart. So just one thing to keep in mind, but I'm gonna keep it as view content. Now we're not gonna be sending advanced information in this video, but you could actually send the email, phone number, and then the external ID. I actually made another video on this channel showing you how to actually capture that from, let's say, a website form and putting it into a variable so that you can just like dynamically send like email, phone number, like inside your tags to a platform like Facebook. If you want to watch that video, I'll leave it in the link in the description, but that's going to allow you to send information here. But again, if you're just getting started, start with the basic stuff, and then you can come back and you can set up more of that advanced stuff in a future date. But now what I want to do is I want to open up this option right here. So where it says event ID. So if you remember, I made you add an event ID. If I click on the puzzle here, and if I scroll down here, that's the unique event ID. So that's important. You want to add that inside all your tags. So if you have a lead event tag, if you have a purchase tag, or I guess it's called place an order tag, then you want to add that unique event ID. But you don't need to add it for now, at least. You don't need to have it in your, the custom HTML tag that I made you create at first, where that's the one actually sending the page view event. you don't need to add that event ID, because from what I can see from the documentation, you can't do server-side tracking for page view yet. You can only do browser tracking, which that's kind of weird, but that's just the way it's set up, I think, for now. So for this one, you don't need to add a unique event ID. But with that being said, the tag where it was like that custom piece of code, this one's actually the one sending the page view event, in case you actually didn't know. So this one right here that I made you install sends the page view event to TikTok. So if ever you're going through this and you're like, oh, well, I want to send a page view event, but I don't see the event name inside the dropdown, well, that's why. It's because with the base code is actually the one sending the event. Hopefully that makes sense. So here we don't need to go to event settings, right? Because by default, it's actually set to 0. So we can just disregard this. And now we're gonna do a view content event. So what I recommend you do is you just go on your website and you kind of map out what are the events that you want to send. So like I said, I'm just gonna pretend, so super easy example, I'm gonna pretend that I'm just gonna be sending like a view content event and also like I guess a lead event to TikTok. So for me, my view content event, I'm just gonna say it's when someone visits my contact us page. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy my URL here. I'm gonna go back to Google Tag Manager. I'm gonna create a new trigger. I'm gonna click on this and I'm gonna say page view, some page views, and it's when the page URL, let's say it contains contact us. And when that's true, then go ahead and send a view content event to TikTok. So I'm just gonna say like view content trigger. Now I can save that, and then perfect. Now I actually have my view content tag. Now I'm just gonna say TikTok view content, just so I can recognize later. And now perfect. So now I'm sending page view and I'm sending a view content event to TikTok. We're not done here. I'm going to show you a few other examples, but now if I hit new and I click configure and I again select the same tag, and now I actually can just bring in my TikTok pixel ID. And the trigger that I'm going to send here is going to be, we're going to say it's submit form. So when they submit my contact us form, we're going to send a submit form event. And the reason you obviously want to send these events to TikTok is so that if ever, let's say I was running Facebook ads to try to find new customers for my agency, I would probably want to optimize my ad for the submit form like event, so that TikTok knows exactly who are the companies that I'm looking for, and they would be optimizing my ads for that specific event. It's the same thing with Facebook ads if you're familiar with their platform. So I'm gonna scroll down here, and like I said, you always want to add this. So here we have the unique event ID, and then the trigger. So that's when they actually submit the form. So for me, I actually have a thank you page. So I'm just gonna fill this up real quick. Say test, I'm not a robot, and I'm gonna submit the form, and then it should redirect me to the thank you page. Perfect. So here we have the thank you page. I'm just gonna copy the URL. I'm gonna go back here, and I'm just gonna say like contact form submit, and let's say trigger. So you can name them whatever you want. I usually just name them something that when I look at my triggers and my tags in 2 or 3 months from now, I just remember what they are and what they're supposed to do. So this is gonna be the same thing. So page URL, and we're gonna say contains this. Now you could say equals to this, but sometimes what I'll do is I'll add like specific like queries and UTMs to my URL, and I just want to make sure that this doesn't interfere with my trigger. So that's why what I'll usually do is I'll use the condition contains, just in case there's a query or UTM added to that URL. Again, I want to make sure I'm tracking everyone. So that's why I set up my triggers this way. So perfect. Now I'm going to say TikTok, and I'm just going to say lead. And now I can save that. So perfect. So now we have the page view event, we have the view content event, and we also have the lead event. But I also want to show you how you could potentially send an event to TikTok using a click, because I know that a lot of you guys might not have a page URL that you redirect your users to. Let's say you have a form, and when they click the submit button, it just like shows like a confirmation message. And I want to show you how you can use or create a trigger for that. And I know that there's a lot of companies that have e-com stores here watching this channel. So I want to show you how you could potentially trigger an add to cart and send that to Facebook. So I'm actually going to use that as an example. So I'm going to use the add to cart. But now what I need to do is I need to actually preview Google Tag Manager with my website. Now, whenever you're working with Google Tag Manager, if you don't have it yet, just go to like Google Chrome extension and type Google Tag Assistant, and they have a Chrome extension that you can add to your Chrome, and it just makes like previewing and debugging super easy. So I have it, so when I hit preview, I'm just gonna connect to my website. So perfect, I'm now connected to my website. You can see it's connected here, but if I go to Tag Assistant, you can see that the container loaded, and we can actually see that the base code fired, so everything works well. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna say that when someone clicks this button here, I'm gonna count that as an add to cart. This is not a good example. I would definitely not send an add to cart event to TikTok if someone clicks my work with us button, but I just wanna show you how you could create a click trigger inside inside Google Tag Manager, so that you can potentially apply that for your e-com store or for your service-based company when they click the submit as form button, right? So if I show you this, you're gonna know how to track button clicks, and you can just apply that for your specific funnel. So that's kind of like my goal here. And I actually forgot to do one thing. So we wanna go to trigger, and we wanna actually create something what I call a all click trigger. So I'm gonna call this all clicks, and I'm gonna go here, and we're just gonna select all clicks like that. And what that's gonna do is whenever I'm clicking something on the page, it's gonna go ahead and we're gonna see it here as like I guess in the summary tab, and then we can go and drill down and see, okay, well, how can we potentially create a trigger with this information? So that's step number one. And then you go to variables, and you wanna make sure that under here in your built-in variables, that if you scroll down, you have all of these guys enabled. So click element, click class, click ID, click target, click URL, and click text, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna restart the preview. And then I'm gonna connect to my website, and I'm not gonna click anything else. I'm just gonna click the work with us button, okay? So right now, if we look, we're at number 15, sorry. And then if I click on this, now one click, I go back here, and if we scroll down, so we can see all this loaded because he redirected me to this page right here, right? So I want to scroll down here because that's a new page, that's the free strategy session page. But if I scroll here, I can see that's actually my click, but because there's a link inside that button, it also triggered a link click. So I can either use this one or this one. I'm just gonna use the click for now. And if I select click and then click on variables, and if I scroll down, I'm looking for this stuff right here. So click ID, click target, click text, click URL. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say that when the click text equals or contains work with us, then that's what's gonna trigger my add to cart event, okay? You can use a click text, you can use the click ID. Ideally, actually, you would use something like the click ID, but on this button, I didn't add an ID inside, I guess, the HTML of this button, so we don't actually have a value here. But click text for this example is perfectly fine, and for your website, most likely is also fine. Just remember that if the click text contains or equals work with us, and you have, let's say, that button somewhere else on your website, if ever they click that button, it's also gonna fire your tag, right? That's the only thing you wanna keep in mind. But I'm gonna go ahead and copy that, and I can go to Google Tag Manager, and I can just create my trigger. So click trigger, all elements, some clicks, and then we're gonna say it's when the click text, and I'll just say equals, and then I'll have my work with us right here. And then now I can just say like add to cart trigger, and I can save that. And again, obviously this is not an add to cart button and not a good add to cart trigger. Again, I'm showing you how to fish so you can fish yourself in the future. I guess that's what I'm trying to do here. So now I'm selecting the TikTok template, and then I could go ahead and select my add to cart trigger. And then here I would just need to change the event to add to cart. And again, don't forget to add the event ID. And I mean, outside of that, that's basically it. I could go ahead and save it. So that's pretty much it, guys, for sending your events to the TikTok Pixel. What you would obviously want to do now is go through the preview and make sure you don't have any issues. So what I would do is I would go and hit preview, go to my website, and I'm just gonna click on this button right here. So I'm gonna click on the contact us button, and then this should actually trigger a view content event, right? So let's wait until the page loads. Now, if I go to Tag Assistant, if I just click here, we're gonna see. So when you click this at the top, it just shows you whatever fired on the page. So here we can see that the page, like the basic page view fired, and we can see that the view content also fired once, right? If I open this up, I can actually see exactly what's going on. And what is the information that was sent to TikTok. So we can see that this is working. If ever you're going through the process and you're seeing like under tags fired, well, nothing is there, or they're actually right here under tags not fired. Now this makes sense that TikTok lead did not fire because I did not submit the contact form yet. But then if I were to submit the contact form and then it would redirect me to the thank you page, then the TikTok lead tag should definitely fire. If not, then there's an issue probably with my trigger. So you definitely want to review all of that. And then once you've gone through all this and you say it's good to go, don't forget to submit it, because if you don't submit it, nothing's gonna happen. Once it's submitted, you're good to go. Now it's actually gonna start sending events to TikTok. There's an additional thing that you could do after that just to make sure that everything is working. And it's actually just go to Events Manager here. And if I scroll up, I can go to Test Events. And then this is something that you would have to do on your phone. So you grab your phone, you grab your camera on your phone, you just point it to that barcode right here, and then it's gonna open up your website. So you can just go through the process on your phone. So you would go, in my example, I would go and click on the Contact Us button, see if there's a view content event that shows up. Then I could go ahead and submit the form and see if there's a lead event that shows up, and it would actually show up here. So as you go through, I guess, your sales process on your website, the events would show up here under like event activity. That would be a way for not just to verify that Google Tag Manager is sending the events to TikTok, but that TikTok is actually receiving it. So that's one way to verify. Then there's another way to verify is to use the TikTok Chrome extension. So it's just like the Google Tag Manager Assistant. You just go to the same place, right, to the Chrome extension store, and you can just type, again, TikTok, I think it's TikTok Pixel Helper or something like that. And then you can just add that to your Chrome. And then whenever you're visiting a website, including yours, you can see what events are actually being fired to TikTok. So those are two ways that you can actually test and make sure that everything is working correctly and TikTok is receiving the information. Guys, that's pretty much it for this video. I strongly recommend that if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, subscribe to the channel, because like I said, I'll release a video on how to also do that server side. So you definitely don't want to miss that out. And if you've learned something new and you want to make sure that other people just like you find this video, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. That's just how the YouTube algorithm works. But guys, that is it for this video. Bye for now.